I'm the Kwambalak, and the conversation continues. Today's conversation is a nation divided. And the reason why today's conversation is dealing with a nation divided, because within the next week and a half or so, you're going to have a major election for the President of the United States. And that's bugging a lot of people. That's having a lot of people losing their minds. They don't know what to do. You have the Democrats, they're running around in a frenzy. Oh, we have to get Donald Trump out of office. He's horrible. He's immoral. And of course he is. And then you have the Republicans, the blind Republicans who are following after Donald Trump. But the majority of the Republicans that are supporting Donald Trump are just pushing the white power, white supremacy program. That's all it's about, because he's not really doing anything for anyone unless they're a billionaire or a multimillionaire. So why would you support Trump otherwise? Unless you're just out for it for the money and you hate your people, or you're a white supremacist, or you want white power, and you're hoping the next 4 years, if Donald Trump is selected, as they select all the presidents, because you could get all emotional and vote and criticize people that don't vote and do all these different things. But at the end of the day, you know what time it is. Anybody old enough to recognize George Bush when he ran before Barack Obama? George Bush lost the popular vote, but the Electoral College put him in because it was his time to rule in America. After he gave all the rich people in the oil industry and everything billions of dollars through his presidency, jacked up and depleted all the funds in America, they put in Barack Obama. So they could blame a brown man, even though he wasn't from our nation. They put him in there so they could blame him. So after the Democrats do 2 years, in his first 4 years, Obama was saying, oh, you know what? Get me in another term and then I'll do something for you. And still that didn't happen. Someone told me, what did Obama do for you? Oh, they gave us the Obama phone, because every politician was going to have the Affordable Care Act. And now they're chopping up Obama's act and everything that he did so he could be an irrelevant president, a lame duck president for 8 years. So now you have this monster that's in office for 4 years who was selected as well, because Hillary Clinton won the majority of votes, close to 4 million votes more than Donald Trump. But if he's selected, there's nothing people could do about it. And they just say, well, we're going to come out stronger the next 4 years. So if Donald Trump is selected again, when all of you people are coming out strong, what are you going to say? Maybe we'll win the next 4 years. Maybe a Democratic president will be there in the next 4 years. Maybe a woman will be there in the next 4 years. So what's happening now, what's trending, you had a brother named Ice Cube. And for those of you who don't know, Ice Cube is a rapper from back in the day. He became a producer. He's an actor. You've seen him in certain movies before. And even though the haters aren't giving him this credit, I'm gonna give him this credit. If back in the day through his music, he felt he was an activist. He was looking out for his people. He cared about his people, even though he had negativity mixed up with positivity, as he does now. So now he said he woke up one day and he said, whoa, you know what? Let me see what's going on. I'm hearing George Floyd. My people are getting jacked up out there. So Ice Cube said, you know what? I'm gonna have to do something. I guess he couldn't stand by any longer. And he said, you know what? I'm going to try to write a proposal and see how I can help my people with these elections coming up and all these killings of our people just because he's been living a cushy life. And this is a picture of Ice Cube right here, for those of you that didn't know. He said, maybe I shouldn't be living this cushy life and just chilling. So he put out this thing. Well, I'm calling it a thing, but it's called The Contract with Black America. Was released in June 2020, where his contract is basically saying he wants reparations in there. He wants different programs. This is Ice Cube when he was a younger brother. This is him when he was in his famous group called NWA. They even made a movie with Ice Cube's son with NWA. And these are the things that maybe this is what's happening to Ice Cube. He's realizing and that knowing the time that now it is high time to awake out of sleep. For now is our salvation nearer than when we believe. Because this is what they're talking about when they talk about the woke community. When people are waking up out of sleep, that means they're woke. When you come into the truth and recognize your nationality, being from the nation of Israel, that means you're awakened. So it's beautiful to see all these woke brothers and sisters out there, but we're waiting for them to become awakened, and it's just another level and another step. And we're seeing more people being awakened to the truth. And that's why they're starting to see the hypocrisy and the foolishness that Malcolm X talked about with the Democratic and the Republican Party that's not doing anything for the Black American in this country. So you had in June, Ice Cube, who's one of the organizers of this contract with Black America, he's like the main one who spearheaded it, and he met with several people so he could put it together. He put out this contract and he put out a tweet because he was reaching out to the Democrats and the Republicans and any politician that would listen to him. I mean, more power to him. He has faith in a system that maybe one day, things will change for our people in this country. I don't have faith that people will just be honorable and say, you know what, we're going to do this for you. Because every year they give billions of dollars to a foreign country, the same country every single year. They gave trillions of dollars in stimulus packages. So the government does have money to give our people reparations, which we deserve, but that's not on their agenda. They just want to push it off and just appease people briefly. So when you had Ice Cube put out this tweet where he said, I put out the contract with Black America, both parties contacted me. Democrats said we'll address the contract with Black America after the election. Trump campaign made some adjustments to their plan after talking to us, which is his crew, about the contract with Black America. So now, don't get it twisted. I'm not caping for Ice Cube and everything he stands for and believes, but I can respect what he's doing right now from his perspective, being from a worldly perspective, that you think if people are going to vote, let them do something for us. We should have an agenda that they're catering to if you're going to cast your vote for them. Although anybody spiritual or biblical wouldn't vote for anybody that's not one of their brethren, because you can't trust the other nations to look out for your best interest. And if you ever check it out, although you had descendants of the enslaved in America running for president, like Shirley Chisholm, I think Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, they never were president in this system because they're not going to put a descendant of the enslaved in America as president because they're afraid they will do something positive for God's people and not go with the program and keep us down. They'll put anybody brown that's from another nation as president or vice president, like Barack Obama or Kamala Harris. But they would never, in your lifetime, in your children's lifetime, in your grandchildren's lifetime, put a descendant of the enslaved in America as the president of these divided states. And these states are divided because every state has their own law. Every state has their own program. How they deal with the coronavirus, every state is dealing with it differently. Different speed limits, different laws. You could have intercourse with animals in Ohio, even though they pulled that back because too many people are flocking to Ohio. So different laws in different states showing that this is the divided states of America. And it's divided because it's segregated, even though they run on the guile or the trickery of integration. All the schools in the inner city are segregated. Most of the schools in the suburbs, you'll have one or two brown person, but they're segregated from that perspective as well. Because this is a divided country, and that's why you have people divided, where you have Republicans who are pushing white power movement, and you have Democrats who are pushing some other movement. Where are we left? As Black people, they're trying to minimize us, call us people of color, where, wait a minute, now we lumped in with everybody has color. Everybody on the planet Earth is a different shade of brown, or Caucasians are a different shade of red. So now when you say people of color, you're not doing anything for our people. So Ice Cube, he's absolutely right. If Joe Biden's camp wouldn't listen to him till after the campaign, that's not when you listen to our agenda or try to talk about or put in your plan how you're going to help our people. Because Joe Biden has the lift, what is it called? The Lift Every Voice plan. It's like a long, drawn out novel of documents, like thick pages of stuff. You could go on his website and check it out. The Lift Every Voice plan. And in that document, they claim they're catering to a Black agenda, but they can't be, because the only time they mention the word Black is 10 times in there. And you could research it and Google it yourself. and see that this is a fact. 10 times, and 5 of those 10 times, he's talking about historically black colleges and universities. Although, if you check out HBCUs now, many of them are being integrated because we can never have anything of our own. If we have a nice club and it's popping and no shooting, no fighting, all of a sudden, why I can't be a part of that? We had to start black fraternities and sororities back in the day at these historically black colleges and universities because they had all these Caucasian fraternities and sororities that they wouldn't let us in. And what's the purpose in being in them at that time? Was just to get benefits and networking and certain things that went along with it that still goes along with that. So now, what do you have in our black fraternities and sororities? You have other nations wanting to join and be a part of it. So it just diminishes everything that we do that is ours. Anything that we create, they try to say they created from R&B, the blues, rap. Before you know it, 30 years from now, they'll be saying Eminem and Vanilla Ice started rap, as opposed to it starting in the big time Bronx. So you have the Biden plan. 8 times they mention people of color. So people of color, they're going to do these things for. And who are people of color? Could be East Indians, Arabs, Africans. So it's not doing anything specifically for the people that you owe from over 400 years of free labor and then underpaid for the rest of the hundreds of years that we've been in this country. When all these Caucasian families have benefited off of slavery, why they have billions of dollars. And the ones that say, no, it's not my family, like the DuPonts and all that. I started from scratch and worked hard. No, you did not work hard. Because they have billionaire families running the whole world, you have white privilege, Caucasian privilege, where, like Bill Gates, he starts on the job. Oh, this looks like a bright young man. Let me give him a chance. Or somebody like me, if I was starting somewhere, I'd be like, oh, listen, we have this Caucasian over here. I know he has less experience, but let's give him a chance. We're not hiring you right now. Come back next year. Maybe we'll be hiring then. So they always have their foot on our back. And it's sad when I hear immigrants, and I'm not against immigrants because I'm an Israelite, to tell you straight up. My brothers and sisters are from Jamaica, Puerto Rico, Dominican Republic, because we suffer the same fate. Panamanians, Brazilians, our ancestors came off the same slave ships and went into these places. And the native peoples, like the Native Americans in this country, those are our brothers and sisters. If you check out their history, they were dark brown people. So when you see these Caucasian Native Americans, they're the squatters that were on the land, taking the benefits from the true people that were here that helped us during slavery. So I'm not against them, but I am criticizing Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, and other islanders who criticize Black Americans like we're lazy. Only the bums of our people get shot by the police because we don't cooperate and we're always doing the wrong thing. Why we're crybabies. All these things can be found on the Ku Klux Klan website. Open it up and check it out one day. So why are they following after an ideology, a thought process? How are we lazy when we worked for free to build up this country and make other people billionaires? Think about that. So it behooves you, you should start coming together as a people. Because imagine if those people I named came together, and some of us are together in the world and in our world, some of us are together, and if we came together stronger, we'd be a force to reckon with. But as they call us different names and separate us as a people, knowing we could be the same brothers and sisters, some people ask me, are you Haitian? Are you Jamaican? I've been asked if I'm Panamanian, Dominican. And I'm telling you, that's because we look like we're from the same nation, many of us. Some of us have different hair textures. So we have to recognize, let's come together and let's do the right thing. And let's recognize if somebody's against us. And don't come against your brothers who are us, the Black Americans in this country. Because we have every other nation coming against us. And like I said, people of color could be all different types of people. And then add insult to injury in the lift every voice. He tried to use that because Obama sang that in a church one time when they killed our brothers and sisters in a South Carolina church, talking about, oh, I came here because you're all about forgiveness, and he wants them to forgive. Lift every voice. That's so negative. Like Kamala Harris, she wears Converse sneakers and Timberlands, thinking and rocking a Cardi B when Cardi B is negative for our community. Like I said before in a previous program, I said, if anything, she should have said, I love Cardi B's music and was rapping to it, but I hate the lyrics because the lyrics are pushing our sisters down. Anybody that idolize and you want to be like Cardi B, or even, well, I can't say Beyonce because Beyonce does have some positive lyrics or some of her songs. But anybody listening to Cardi B, you got to be out your mind if you're letting your child listen to those lyrics. So 19 times they mention minorities. They don't consider us the only minorities. Caucasian women are also considered minorities. Think about that. So this Biden plan, is it really for our people? So Ice Cube's not wrong for saying, yo, here's the Black agenda. I want y'all to address that because my people have been suffering under your hand all these years. And then what do you have? You have the Platinum Plan. That's Donald Trump's plan, the Platinum Plan for Black America. What's in his plan? Less than what's in Joe Biden's plan. Fluff, nonsense, BS, the same thing, minority this, people of color that. But you're really not going to do anything for our people based on that plan. He just threw it out there, had the only Black Republican on the Senate, Tim, I forgot his name, presenting it to the people, and what? There's nothing in it. It's like air, fluff. But the difference is he met, or his team, not Donald Trump himself, his team met with Ice Cube. So because he met with Ice Cube, you have all these people who are saying, oh, why did he meet with the enemy? What's wrong with him? He's pushing our people because he has a little following. I'm not saying little, he has a major following. He has all these people are pushing He is pushing people to the Republican side. No, they got to be Democrat. But why do they have to be Democrat when the Democrats aren't really doing anything for them? And we can't even significantly say, hey, this is what they've done for us all these years. This is a beautiful thing. So now they're hating on Ice Cube. You have people tweeting on his page, tweeting all over, talking about, oh man, he's such a fool selling the people out to the Republicans. How could he do that? Meeting with Donald Trump. How could he be so stupid to do something like that? He's a madman. So they're dogging him on MSNBC. Sad to see this sister who I thought was coming up there, taking over this African woman, Joy Reid spot. I was like, wow, that would be nice, this sister take over. But you know what? It's this bashing of black men. And when you check them out, many of the women that are bashing black men don't even like men. They only like women. So Ice Cube, to his credit, he didn't turn into a punk like Snoop Dogg or Mariah Carey's boy. He stayed strong and he tweeted this so people could understand where he's coming from. He said, every side is the dark side for us here in America, which is a true statement. They're all the same until something changes for us. And you know what? Nothing has changed for us. They all lie and they all cheat, but we can't afford not to negotiate with whoever is in power, or our condition in this country will never change. Our justice is bipartisan. And that's what it is. And that's what people need to recognize. If you're not doing anything for our people, then why should you vote for them when they're not doing anything for us? Does that make sense to you? So you had Ice Cube, he went on Roland Martin. Roland Martin came up with nonsense trying to dog him, and then brings on a lesbian woman from the Black Lives Matter movement, trying to go in on and change the subject. He's talking about the contract with Black America on this show. He brings in this woman talking about, hey, do you think I'm a terrorist? Because Donald Trump thinks I'm a terrorist, which was totally irrelevant to why Ice Cube was here. He had more respect on CNN with Chris Cuomo after he had to cut Chris Cuomo and check him for trying to set him up on some nonsense. But he had more respect on that show. But then, what do? They pull out the Sam. They pull out the Sambo, excuse me. Got a little glitch in my armor. And they have this guy, Don Lemon, coming on, talking about negativity with Ice Cube. As opposed to joining forces with Ice Cube and saying, I'm glad you had him on, because this guy, Don Lemon, he doesn't even like black men. I know what you're saying. He looks like a black man. How could he not like black men? Because he doesn't. That's why he chose to be with a Caucasian male as his mate, because that's who we're dealing with in society. They put up women that hate men to dog us, and men that hate themselves and hate men to dog us as well. So now everyone's coming out in defense of Ice Cube because they're recognizing what he's saying is real. So people are starting to back down. They're not bringing it up anymore because they thought everybody would run behind him and destroy Ice Cube and make him irrelevant. But that's not what's happening. So what Ice Cube did, that's what all entertainers, athletes should do. All of them should have been kneeling with Colin Kaepernick. Can you imagine if in the NFL, all the black players were kneeling with Colin Kaepernick at least for a month? Things would look different in America. Things would be shut down in America. But they're not going to do it because they're afraid. Many of them have Caucasian spouses at home. So when they go home, they'll say, why would you do that? You don't think all lives matter? But there's going to be a few of us and more of us stepping up where we're not taking this anymore. We're not going to take the garbage and how you destroy us anymore. Even in the prison system, even though in the Constitution, it says slavery is legal. In our penal institution, which is crazy, do you know, not only are they being locked up like slaves and treated like slaves in prison, they're abusing and raping the brothers and sisters in prison. Not just the inmates, but the employees as well. And I'm not saying all of them do that, because when you talk about bad cops, people say you can't say all. Although I haven't seen, I've heard a couple of good cops who speak out against the injustice and then they're persecuted for doing so. So the whole system needs to be revamped, but they're not revamping it because they're building up this control and this dominant society to try to crush people, because they would love to bring slavery back. They would love to have us in subjection to everyone else. You even had this guy, I don't know if you heard of him, DL Hughley. He has a podcast. He's a entertainer, comedian. He calls himself a comedian. This guy was even set up. They said, go out there and dog Ice Cube. So they have these people coming up all the time to dog our people for them, because it looks good when we dog each other on mainstream TV, as opposed to they come out and dog us, because then we'll cry racism according to them, which would be racist. But when you have our people do it, they're racist as well. So you have Donald Trump, who's the most immoral person, wicked, despicable, vile, lying human being as president ever, in the White House, because you've had other racists. George Washington used to rape, kill slaves, which were my ancestors. Thomas Jefferson, they always talk about, oh, Sally Hemingway, that was his wife. No, he raped her. She was a child living in the basement of his house. But people are proud to have that ancestry because their brains are so whitewashed. So you have horrible presidents all the time. And I'm not saying go out and vote for Donald Trump, but if he gets in, it's better to have somebody that's a blatant racist, going to tell you that every move before they do it, except for them little policies and executive orders he's doing behind closed doors while you're focusing on what he says out his mouth. But it's better to have somebody that's just hardcore. So we could be hardcore with him as opposed to somebody sneaky like Joe Biden, who has the same sentiments of Donald Trump. Now, when you check this out, there's a biblical scripture that describes how they are. And you tell me if this doesn't fit them, especially Donald Trump. In John 8:44, it says, "Ye are of your father, the devil, and the lust of your father ye will do." So let's talk about Donald Trump. His father was and grandfather were down with the Ku Klux Klan, Aryan Nation type movement. And Joe Biden's father was a blatant racist and may have had slaves, and so of his grandfather, because he's that old. Ye of your father the devil, and the lust of your father you will do. He was a murderer from the beginning. And even the Trump boys, Eric and Trump Jr., they go out killing animals just for sport and abode not in the truth because there is no truth in them. So they can't even be honest, can't even be honest with if he had the coronavirus, can't be honest with anything. When he speaketh a lie, he speaketh of his own, for he is a liar and the father of it. So Donald Trump is the poster boy for what America stands for. Lies, hypocrisy, murder, as they're murdering us continuously. You have marches all over the world, and we're still being murdered like cockroaches, I must say, because you can't say murder like dogs because they don't murder dogs. You'll go to jail if you murder a dog. You got people getting off when they're murdering us. They're continuously locking us up. They still haven't let us go from being incarcerated for having weed or something like that. In the electoral college, they can be bought by lobbyists, billionaires, or just the white power movement many of them are involved with. So they're looking like we're going to put our boy back in there. Joe Biden, on the other hand, you have this racist demon who's in there now, but check out Joe Biden. Because I think a lot of y'all are still blind to Joe Biden. He had this crime bill where he gave $1 billion incentives to states who are locking us up more. You would get $1 billion incentive. That's the bill Joe Biden wrote. And you could read about that in Michelle Alexander's book called The New Jim Crow, Mass Incarceration. In this book, she outlines and details and shows you receipts showing how Joe Biden is a horrible dude. And you know what? Many of you don't even believe it, even though she's bringing out statistical facts and she's showing you clear evidence of Joe Biden's racist rants, policies, 3 strikes you're out. You have people on weed charges doing massive time in prison and nobody's letting them out. Nobody's letting them out. And the reason why no one's letting them out because y'all are trying to keep us down and divided. So now when you check out this piece on Joe Biden that I'm getting ready to show you, you tell me if Michelle Alexander is just exaggerating, I'm exaggerating, or if this is actual fact about Joe Biden.
Whether or not the person that is accosting your son or daughter, or my son or daughter, my wife, your husband, my mother, your parents, it doesn't matter whether or not they were deprived as a youth. It doesn't matter or not whether or not they had no background that enabled them to have to become socialized into the fabric of society. It doesn't matter whether or not they're the victims of society. The end result is they're about to knock my mother on the head with a lead pipe, shoot my sister, beat up my wife, take on my sons. So I don't want to ask what made them do this. They must be taken off the street. That's number one. There's a consensus on that. Unless we do something about that cadre of young people, tens of thousands of them, born out of wedlock, without parents, without supervision, without any structure, without any conscience developing, because they literally, I give myself 3 more minutes, because they literally have not been socialized. They literally have not had an opportunity. We should focus on them now. If we don't, they will, or a portion of them will, become the predators 15 years from now. And Madam President, we have predators on our streets that society has, in fact, in part because of its neglect, created. Again, it does not mean because we created them that we somehow forgive them or do not take them out of society to protect my family and yours from them. They are beyond the pale, many of those people. Beyond the pale. And it's a sad commentary on society. We have no choice but to take them out of society. And the truth is, we don't very well know how to rehabilitate them at that point. That's the sad truth. I'm the guy that said rehabilitation, when it occurs, we don't understand it, notice it. And even when we notice it and we know it occurs, we don't know why. So you cannot make rehabilitation a condition for release. That's why in our system, there's the federal system, you serve 85% of your time. It's a shame, but we don't know how to rehabilitate. But there is a consensus, and I will cease. A, must make the streets safer. I don't care why someone is a malfactor in society. I don't care why someone is antisocial. I don't care why they become a sociopath. We have an obligation to cordon them off from the rest of society, try to help them, try to change their behavior. That's why we do in this bill. We have drug treatment and we have other treatments to try to deal with it. But they are in jail, away from my mother, your husband, our families. But we would be absolutely stupid as a society if we didn't recognize the condition that nurtured those folks still exist. And we must deal with that.
So that's your buddy Joe Biden. Who was he talking about? He was talking about our people. There's no reform. We're growing into all these super predators, and we must be stopped so they don't come around his family, his wife, his children. And that's how he feels. That's why he's always having gaffes or making mistakes when he's speaking, because he's trying to not say the wrong thing. Why do you think they put him up there with Barack Obama as the vice president? So the white supremacy movement could know that their boy was up there. And even though they had a brown president, they felt comfortable with that. You even had, I'm going to read this with Lyndon B. Johnson. He was one of the presidents of the United States. This is before our time. but he was in the 60s. I'll show you a picture of him real quick too. This guy, Lyndon B. Johnson, he said, these Negroes, they're getting pretty uppity these days, and that's a problem for us. Since they've got something now they never had before, the political pull to back up their uppityness. Now we've got to do something about this. So this is what he said. He said, now we have to do something about this. We've got to give them a little something, just enough to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference. Isn't that what they've done to us throughout all these presidencies and elections thus far? Give us a little something to quiet them down, not enough to make a difference. For if we don't move at all, then all our allies will line up against us and there'll be no way of stopping them. We'll lose the filibuster and there'll be no way of putting a brake on all sorts of wild legislation. It'll be Reconstruction all over again. So he called the Civil Rights Act of 1957 as the N-word bill in more than one phone conversation with Senate colleagues. And he said African-American Judge Thurgood Marshall, he appointed him to the Supreme Court. And he said, I want everybody to know I appointed an N-word to the court. I want everyone to know he's an N-word, because they didn't have any respect for him. And these are the people that we keep voting in to govern over us. If you ever catch Donald Trump on a hot mic, can you imagine what he says if he says all these things openly? Look how they caught Mitt Romney on a hot mic. And he said, oh, those people, the poor people, I forgot how he phrased it, but he said, I'm not even dealing with them. They're not even considered one of us. He doesn't even care about them. So you always push this narrative. Our ancestors died so we can have the right to vote. But check this out. Y'all don't even do any research. You run with that. You had the guy, Roland Martin, he had on a shirt, our ancestors died, go out and vote. But did you do your research and find out what that movement was all about as well? Many of them died, but like I keep reiterating, I'll say it over and over again. They said it's better for you to not vote for anyone if they don't have a Black agenda. If they're not talking about doing something for you, then show that you're displeased with the system and not be a partaker of this system. Not make an agreement with hell. Not make a contract with death. Because there's nothing in it for you. People crying, look all the murders of Black people under the hand of police unarmed under Donald Trump. More Black people were murdered under President Obama's watch, unarmed. And guess what? They didn't try to do anything until his 8th year of his 8-year term. So when you think about these things, you need to think about it with wisdom, knowledge, and understanding, and research this information. Because then you wouldn't be making blind decisions and just running behind anything. And just voting because it's a momentum and everybody said vote and we got to get Donald. Why do you have to get Donald Trump out? I'm not saying he should be there, but then again, he should be there so everyone could see what the true America is all about. But you don't know why you want to get him out so bad. He doesn't care about his own people. In spite of contrary belief and in spite of what they're bringing out on the media, the coronavirus, COVID-19, is killing more Caucasians than Black people. Even though they put it out there like the virus is attacking us more because we're unhealthy and we need the vaccines, they just want to push the vaccines so they can make more money, more money, more money. Back in the day, the oil industry was making so much money, but now that they have electric cars and things running on natural gas, they're not making as much money as they used to back in the day. The pharmaceutical companies are the ones making the dough now. So the pharmaceutical companies are making all this dough off of you. They're the main drug dealers. Every commercial, not every commercial, every time there's a commercial break, you'll see some drug dealer pushing their drug. And as I said earlier, why don't you release all the brothers that are in prison who had marijuana charges? Because now you have marijuana dispensaries where you block most of our people out from getting them and selling marijuana legally. You have a couple tokens that you were able to let in, just like the real estate business. Major real estate companies and deals and incentives and freeness. You let a couple of us in, but for the most part, you block us out. And then you let more people from other countries and other islands come in and take over certain things that you block us out, so-called Black Americans, so you could put us up against each other. So we could talk that negative stuff and say, oh man, they come in and take our jobs, which is not true. Most of the jobs a lot of people from other islands or countries come and do, Black Americans feel they're too good to do it. Instead of doing it, stacking some chips, and then branch off from there and do something else. And that's why I'm urging people, we need to come together, forge an alliance with each other. And like it says in 1 Corinthians 1 and 10, we need to speak the same thing, because when we're speaking different things, we're all over the place, it's difficult for us to agree and come together. But we can agree on one thing: enough is enough. You're not going to continuously treat our people bad and we're going to sit back and allow that to happen. You're not going to continuously murder us down in the street with no retaliation or repercussion or punishment for the crimes that you commit against our brothers and sisters on a regular basis. So these are the things that has to stop. And these are the things that we can totally agree that we have to come together on that basis. And the only way this nation that runs the whole planet Earth, they have garrisons set up in everybody's country except for North Korea, where you've plummeted, raped, robbed, and murdered all nations of the earth, and especially our people in this country, and still have your foot, or shall I say knee, on our neck. Is there anything you could do for redemption? Is there anything that you can do? You want to march with us, be our allies? Is there anything you could do where the wrath of the Heavenly Father for coming against and destroying his chosen people, where he will give you a break? Because it says you're going to reap what you sow. But there is one thing that you can do as a people. I don't know if you do it, but I'm going to read it and you decide if you want to make that decision. This is Ezekiel 33:15. If the wicked restore the pledge, what is the pledge? Letting our people know they are the children of Israel. And that's the identity and nationality that you stole from us during slavery. Give again that he had robbed. What did you rob? The whole planet Earth, the riches, the royalty, the lands. You have to give all that back. Walk in the statutes of life, keeping all the laws in the Bible without committing iniquity or wickedness. He shall surely live, he shall not die. But if you can't do that small thing, then it's a wrap for you. You might as well continue under the program where you're trying to have martial law, new world order, make America great again, white supremacy, white power, because it's inevitable what's going to happen when you keep having your knee in our neck. So I want you to like and share this video so people could be enlightened of what's getting ready to transpire within a week and a half during Election Day. And I'm Zaquan Malak, and the conversation continues.